I have a question for you. If you were to die for 6 minutes, what do you think would be the last thing you'd see? I thought I knew. My name is Emily Reed. I'm a PhD in quantum physics, a former collaborator with NASA and MIT. I used to stand in front of equations describing subatomic motion, warp time, and quantum vacuum fields. I used to believe the universe was a perfectly logical machine. Death? Just the end of energy and motion. Consciousness? A mere illusion created by the brain. But I died. Truly. For 6 full minutes. And what I saw wasn't in any textbook I ever taught. I was the kind of woman ruled by reason, so much so that there was no room for emotion. They called me the ice brain. I laughed. They didn't know. That's exactly how I liked it. Emotions were faulty variables. Love? Just noise in the system. I chose safety. I chose control. I believed that if I could measure everything, I'd never have to feel pain again. I thought I understood the world, but I didn't understand myself. I lived in loneliness and called it freedom. I mistook emotional numbness for peace. I thought I was moving forward, when in truth, I was just running away. Then one day my body betrayed me. A sharp, twisting pain, blood, confusion. I thought it was just stress, a dizzy spell, a late cycle. But it turned out, that was the day I died. In the ER, I heard the nurse call my name. Everything spun like a drunken dream. I laughed, not because I was afraid, but because the last thing I felt was irony. I used to joke that I'd bleed to death someday. And that's exactly what happened. The very moment the heart monitor let out that long, flat tone, I popped right out of my body. No, I wasn't dreaming. No hallucinations. No lights punto. I saw it myself, lifeless, lying there, surrounded by people trying desperately to bring me back. Who do you think you are when you no longer have a body? I used to believe I was my brain, my logic, my formulas, my degrees. But when I left my body, I was still Emily. What I carried with me wasn't intelligence. It was ego, attitude, and even my wounds. I thought, this must be the end. But then a voice, not coming from anywhere yet somehow everywhere. You finally arrived. I turned around and saw someone, wearing white, but not an angel. No wings, no radiant glow. That person was me, a younger version of me looking at me, as if she had been waiting for a very long time. I used to laugh at people who talked about the soul. I used to call it superstition. But when you're standing face to face with yourself, no excuse holds up anymore. I once thought death was the end, but it turns out it was merely an invitation, the beginning of a journey. Because what happened after those 6 minutes would change the way I see everything forever. Next, I stepped into a place where there was no more physics, no more logic, only truth. Blood, dark red, spreading drop by drop, in streaks across the cold stone floor of the bathroom. I looked down at my feet and saw time running in reverse. There was no future anymore, only a present moment, slipping fast through my grasp. My body trembled, not from cold, but from a knowing. The kind of knowing science can't measure, but never gets wrong. I was about to die. A sharp pain twisted deep in my abdomen, not in waves, but like a surge of current spiraling without pause through my lower belly. I didn't scream. I didn't cry out. I'm Emily Reed. I endure pain in silence. But I knew this time was different. In the back of the ambulance, I tried to close my eyes. But the fluorescent lights above cut straight through my eyelids, like knives to the brain. I heard the EMT calling my name, as if from the bottom of a deep well. Emily. Emily. My heart was beating so fast I couldn't even feel the rhythm anymore, only a roaring in my ears, like a jet engine taking off. My vision blurred. One streak of light. Then 2. Then 3. It felt like I was lifting off, but my body never left the bed. My limbs went numb. My chest felt as if a giant invisible hand pressed down, hard, without mercy. The blood kept flowing red against the white hospital sheets. I could see it, clearly, but I couldn't feel it anymore. There was no pain now, only an overwhelming emptiness. I wondered, is this the moment people start letting go? A nurse said something about a ruptured ectopic pregnancy. I understood the words, but I didn't care anymore. All I knew was this, my blood was running out, and my consciousness was being pulled beyond the edge of anything I had ever understood. My heart began to seize, not in some vague, romantic way, but in a mechanical way, like an overworked pump, like a system shutting down. I heard the sound of my breathing, as if it came from someone else. Shallow, ragged, uneven. the sound of an animal in its final struggle. And then, I stopped breathing, not because I wanted to, but because my body had decided for me. The world didn't fade to black like in the movies. No shadows were closing in. Instead, there was white, a cold, sterile white, like fluorescent light, but it didn't come from anywhere. I burst out of my body like a puff of air. No sensation, no weight, just a lightness. So light, I almost didn't exist at all. I hovered near the ceiling of the ICU room. I looked down and saw myself. No more doubt, no more analysis, no more excuses. I saw myself lying still. And for the first time in my life, I didn't see a scientist. I saw a woman utterly exhausted, a child who had grown old without ever being held. I tried to speak, but I had no mouth. I tried to touch the nurse who was crying, but I had no hands. I wanted to scream, but all I had was thought. There was a moment. I saw them use the defibrillator, saw my body jolt, heard the doctor shout, again, saw my husband standing outside, face pale, hands gripping the railing, saw his tears, and I thought, so, he does still love me. A realization that came too late, like so many things in my life. Then silence. Everything went dark. No sound. No light. I fell into a blackness beyond black. No bottom. No surface. I couldn't tell if I was floating, standing, or dissolving. No time. No direction. Only me and one question. Had I ever truly lived? I started to feel afraid. Not of dying, but not being remembered. Afraid that I had walked through this life without ever leaving anything that truly mattered. I used to think, when I die there will be an article, a scientific paper, a funeral attended by important people. But in this moment where no one could hear me, all I wanted, it was a touch, an apology, a chance to be forgiven. I thought I had reached the edge of the unknown. But in truth, that was only the door. Behind that door, I would meet someone I had forgotten for far too long. That someone, it was me back when I still knew how to dream. I don't know how long I was in the dark. A second? A lifetime? Because here, there was no time. No light. No sound. Only a bone-chilling kind of existence. Utterly alone. There was no way to define that state through science. No brainwaves. No neural activity. And yet I was still me. I had thoughts. I had memories. And I encountered something even more terrifying than death. Consciousness, without the ability to act. I began to wonder, had I ever truly lived? Not a philosophical question, but a core unraveling as if everything I had ever believed was dissolving from within. If I had lived, then why did it feel like no one ever truly saw me? And just then, a faint light appeared far away, like the soft glow of a candle in a primordial darkness. It wasn't dazzling, not the blinding light you see in movies about heaven. It was warm in a deeply human way, like a childhood bedside lamp. I was drawn to it, not by walking, not by moving, but by a yearning so deep to reconnect with something I had once been and lost. The scene slowly came into focus. A room, small, simple, soft light, the scent of old wood. I recognized this place, the attic in my grandmother's house, the place I used to run to whenever my parents fought downstairs. And there, on a rocking chair with a broken armrest, sat a little girl, about 8 years old. Lightly curled hair, wearing a faded blue t-shirt. She looked up, and looked at me. No need to ask. I knew she was me, but not the me I remembered. She was the me I had forgotten. That clear-eyed stare, stubborn, innocent, unguarded, uncontrolled, unarmored. The little girl looked at me and asked, "Who are you?" I choked. I couldn't answer, because after all these years, I had lived without knowing who I was, without the nameplate, the degrees, the titles. I knelt, looked into her eyes. "Are you afraid of dying?" I asked. She shook her head. "No, I'm just afraid that no one will ever truly listen to me." Her answer hit me like a slap across the face, harder than any criticism I had ever received. I, Emily Reed, a woman who had spent her life chasing truth, had silenced the child within me just to be accepted by people who never truly loved me. I stayed quiet when I needed to cry. I smirked when what I needed was a hug. I lectured when I should have done was listen. The room began to fade. The little girl disappeared, and I felt myself drifting once again. But this time, not into darkness, into light, a radiant, vibrant space. The scene shifted into a sky of perfect blue, soft grass beneath my feet, a still lake shimmering in the distance, a field with no wind, yet everything moved as if it were breathing. On the surface of the water, memories began to appear. Not like a film playing in reverse, but like fragments rising from deep beneath. I saw every face, every word I'd spoken in anger, every cold glance, every time I turned away. Every action you've ever taken, a voice echoed, still lives on in someone else's memory. I leaned down and saw myself on the surface of the lake. But it wasn't who I am now. It was a face hardened by years of self-defense. Eyes dried up after refusing to shed a single tear for 20 years. A single drop of water from nowhere fell onto the reflection of my face. It rippled, and with it, the image dissolved. I began to cry. For the first time. With no logical reason. With no one watching. And for once, that was enough. Then the voice returned. You didn't come here to be rescued. You came to remember. To remember who you once were. And to know you still are. I collapsed into the grass. No more resistance. No more control. Only one thing was crystal clear. I don't want to go back to who I was. But I don't want to stay here. If it's only to run away. I thought I had been forgiven. But forgiveness doesn't come from somewhere out there. It comes when you can look into yourself and not turn away. But the journey wasn't over. Because I was about to be shown something no one had ever told me. The reason I'm still alive. Light. It wasn't like the lights in an operating room. It wasn't like the midday sun. It didn't shine, it breathed light. A living light, not blinding, not harsh, but so true, I couldn't hide anything anymore. Every layer of identity melted away. I was no longer Emily, not the scientist, not the sharp, composed woman who controlled everything. I was just a soul, seen completely for the very first time. I stood in a field of infinite light, no beginning, no end. And in front of me, a form began to emerge. Not a person, not a shadow, a presence, vast yet intimate, powerful yet so tender it broke my heart. I couldn't see a face, but I remembered the gaze. Not a gaze from eyes, but from something higher. The voice came not from a mouth, but from every particle of light around me. Are you ready? I didn't ask, ready for what? Because deep down I already knew. Ready to see the one thing I had spent my entire life avoiding. The truth about myself. I was led into a space like a three-dimensional theater, but alive down to the very beat of every emotion. There were no walls, no screens, only the experience of reliving it all at once. They call it a life review. But for me, it was a life reveal, the full unveiling of my existence. I saw every moment of my life, but not from my point of view. I saw it through others' eyes. I saw the pain in my colleagues' eyes when I carelessly dismissed their idea. I saw the shy child sitting quietly in the corner of my classroom, one of my former students, and I never noticed the silent plea in their eyes. I saw my mother during what would be our last phone call, and how I replied with just 2 short sentences. I used to believe I was innocent, just honest, busy, focused. But here, no excuse could survive. There is no guilt, the voice whispered, only choices made in unawareness. I cried, not because I was being judged, but because for the first time, I felt the pain I had caused without ever realizing it. And in that same moment, I also saw the times I had loved without being loved in return. The times I had forgiven, though no one asked. The times I had tried to do what was right, but was misunderstood anyway. Everything you've ever given, even in silence, is never lost. Love is never wasted. Ikelapst, stript bara. Completely open. Nothing left to defend. Nothing left to hold on to. And I asked, then who am I? If I am not my achievements, not my failures, not all the expectations placed on me. And in that moment, the light around me began to change. From white to a warm golden hue. Like sunlight slipping through morning curtains. Like the soft glow of a childhood reading lamp. I saw a child running freely under the sun. Carrying no fear. Not trying to be enough. Just simply being and living. You are who you were before the world told you who you had to be. I choked up. I didn't want to leave this place. Because this was the only place I had never truly seen myself and not felt like I was wrong. But then, I heard a voice calling. At first, it was faint like an echo from beyond the field. Then it grew louder. Urgent. Broken. Full of tears. Emile, why please don't go. It was my husband. His voice was uneven, rough, and weaker than I'd ever heard it. I turned back and saw him, holding the hand of my body outside the ICU room. He wasn't sobbing out loud. He just gripped my hand, as if letting go would mean losing me forever. I turned to look back at the light. No one was forcing me to leave. No one was begging me to stay. There was only complete freedom. For the first time in my life, I understood life isn't an obligation. It's a promise. You may choose to stay, the gentle voice whispered. But if you return, don't live the same way again. I took a breath. There was no oxygen here, but there was meaning. I wasn't afraid to go back anymore, because I knew I would carry this light with me and offer it to those still lost in the dark. I wasn't given all the answers. I was given a chance to ask everything again, with a new heart. I came back, carrying something no one had ever told me before. Coming back to life isn't a miracle. Living, it's truly living. That's the miracle. Opening your eyes doesn't always mean you've awakened. But this time, it did. I opened my eyes, saw the ceiling light. White, still cold, but no longer lifeless. I saw the man I once thought had abandoned me asleep beside me, still holding my hand like letting go would mean losing me again. And I realized I had come back, but I didn't cry. I didn't sit up gasping like in the movies. I simply closed my eyes again and smiled. Not out of joy, but from the quiet knowing I've been given a second chance. Not to continue, but to truly begin. A few days later, I left the ICU. The doctors looked at me as if I were a medical miracle. "We didn't think you'd make it," they said. I didn't respond. I just looked at them and thought quietly to myself, neither did I. But the hardest part wasn't coming back. It was choosing how I would live now. I came home. Everything was the same. The cold, white walls. The perfectly aligned bookshelf. The dustless desk. The old world was waiting for me to return. But I no longer fit in it. I stepped into my office, the room I once called the kingdom of intellect. But today it felt more like a prison for emotion. On the desk sat a $4 million project I'd been working on with the NASA team. The presentation, the data, the certificates, all still there, waiting for me to come back, waiting for me to be the old Emily Reed again. I looked at those papers like looking at a corpse. I used to think, this is my legacy. Now I understand. True legacy doesn't live in libraries. It lives in the hearts of those who were changed by meeting you. I pulled out a blank sheet of paper and wrote exactly 8 words. I'm grateful. But I choose to stop. I left it on the desk and walked away without looking back. I began cleaning the house, not dusting or changing curtains, but clearing out the clutter inside me. I threw away 47 books on self-optimization, none of which had ever made me happy. I took down the photo of me being honored as Female Scientist of the Year because I remembered crying alone in the bathroom that day. I called my mother, the woman whose calls I used to ignore because I was busy writing my thesis. And I said, "Mom, I'm sorry. When you needed me most, I chose spreadsheets over you." My mother was silent. Then she cried, "No blame." She just asked, "Are you okay, sweetheart?" And for the first time, I answered honestly, "I'm learning how to be okay, Mom." I went back to visit the old house in the countryside, the one where I used to hide away in the attic with a notebook full of dreams. I found that notebook and saw a few messy lines still faintly written. When I grow up, I want to be a kind person. Not a doctor, not a scientist, not a genius, just a kind person. And I broke down in tears, because I realized that little girl, she's still waiting for me to come home. And I did something I never thought I would. I rewrote my story not in technical language, but in truth. I began sharing my near-death experience with students, with patients, with those who had lost someone. Not to be believed, but so they would know. You don't have to die to wake up. You just have to be brave enough to stop and listen to the voice of your soul. I began receiving letters from people I had never met, a mother who had lost her child, a doctor who had always feared death, a 16-year-old boy who had planned to end his life because he felt worthless. They all wrote to me with the same message. Your story made me want to live again, but this time to live truly. And I realized, maybe I had to die, to learn how to truly live. But you don't have to. I thought death was the end, but it's a threshold. I thought science would save me, but the truth is, love is the greatest miracle of all. And in the final part, I'll share something I've never told anyone before. A message I was given from the other side was meant for you. I used to live as if I were immortal, missing chances to say I'm sorry, refusing hugs, postponing love for overtime hours, better grades, and higher praise. And then, I died, only to discover, the only thing we take with us when we leave this world, this is how we touch the hearts of others. I didn't come back to tell a miracle story. There were no angels, no thunder, No golden gates of heaven. What I encountered, it was me, raw, unguarded. I saw through a gaze that judged nothing, but allowed for no lies. If you asked me, what changed the most after you died, I wouldn't say I became spiritual. I wouldn't say I saw the light. I would say,